Greetings. So our friend over at the We Woke Now channel recently put up a video about the feast of the Nazareno Negro in the Philippines. And in the comment section of his video, he pinned a comment which revealed his intentions for that video. He wrote the following, quote, "The point of this video is to show the contradictions in Christianity and Catholicism when it comes to the Negro. We are told that color doesn't matter when we teach Christ is dark-skinned, but yet they can have festivals like this. We're told that Christ is white, but at the same time, the Pope worships the Black Madonna. We know worshiping any image is a sin, but again, focus on the contradictions as well." End quote. All right, so the first thing I'll say is that the Catholic Church is not actually contradicting itself here, though it seems obvious that it is contradicting the misconceptions others hold about the Catholic Church. For example, our friend wrote that we're told that Christ is white. But my first question would be, who told him that, right? Does he believe that the Catholic Church has an official position on which modern racial category Christ falls into? And if so, where was that defined? Is it among the canons of a particular council? Was it stated in a papal encyclical? Where might this teaching of the Catholic Church be found? Now, I realize that some think that the Church having light images, images which depict Christ or Mary or others as what Americans would call quote unquote white, that somehow entails that the Catholic Church teaches that Christ necessarily resembled those images. But the problem with that reasoning is, as our friend's own video showed, the Church also has dark images, and it even has images with features that might be stereotypically associated with East Asia. So it should be obvious that a particular depiction existing within the Catholic Church does not necessitate the conclusion that the person depicted necessarily looked that way during their earthly ministry. And that takes us to the now much maligned statement that, quote, "color doesn't matter," end quote. The reality is that the Church allowing a wide range of looks and artistic depictions of Christ, Mary, and others is the very manifestation of that concept of the precise shade or color not mattering. But with that, let's take a moment to talk about dark depictions. And so I'm going to go through a few examples in this video. First, in Tindari in Sicily, there's this beautiful basilica. And that basilica is a shrine dedicated to the famous statue of the Black Madonna of Tindari. Now, as I'm sure many know, there are lots of churches dedicated to the Black Madonna in Europe. But the one in Tindari has particular significance for me because there used to be a replica in a storefront shrine in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is Manhattan's Lower East Side. Whatever the case, inscribed on the base of that statue is the Latin text from the ancient Vulgate translation of Songs of Solomon 1:5, Nigra sum sed Formosa, I am black but beautiful. Nigra sum sed Formosa. Now, like I said, and as anyone can glean from a very brief bit of research, the Catholic Church has shrines dedicated to the Black Madonna all over Europe. But some wrongly think that that's merely some vestige of old Europe, when the reality is the Catholic Church exported dark depictions around the world and built shrines to them in various other continents. For example, this is the Cathedral Basilica of Esquipulas in Guatemala. It's the home of the famous Cristo Negro de Esquipulas. The largest Catholic church in Central America is a shrine dedicated to a dark depiction of Christ. And since our friend mentioned the Philippines, it should be noted that there are multiple dark images in the Philippines, but my personal favorite is at the Basilica in Piat. Now, this is in the province of Cagayan, which is one of the two northernmost provinces in the Philippines, the other being Ilocos Norte, which is where my grandfather was from. And this basilica is the shrine of the Black Madonna of Piat, or Our Lady of Piat, whose feast is celebrated in July. So the Catholic Church has multiple feasts centered around dark images in the Philippines alone. And then there's this cathedral in Aparecida, Brazil. This is one of the largest Catholic churches in the world, and it's also one of the national shrines of Brazil. And it's dedicated to the Black Madonna of Aparecida, which has a feast in October. And by the way, on a side note, as I mentioned in my video titled Columbus and the Black Madonna, which I'll put in the video description, there are islands in the Caribbean which are named after the Black Madonna. The island of Montserrat received its name from Christopher Columbus, who dedicated it to the Black Madonna of Montserrat, which has a feast this coming Saturday, April 27th. And the archipelago now called Guadalupe also received its name from Columbus, who dedicated it to the Black Madonna of Guadalupe in Extremadura. And by the way, on yet another quick side note, regarding the Black Madonna of Guadalupe in Extremadura, Spain, I would recommend my video on the Mexican depiction of La Virgen de Guadalupe and its interesting interrelationship with the Black Madonna of Spain that bears the same name. And I'll share a link to that video in the description as well. Now, of course, Columbus doesn't represent the church, but these historical notes provide examples of how even lay Catholics help play a role in spreading these dark depictions to the Americas. That's also the case with the shrine, the Sicilian shrine that I alluded to in Manhattan's Lower East Side, and then, of course, the shrines to the Black Madonna of Częstochowa in Poland, which also have now been spread around the United States and other parts of the world as well. But let's sum this all up this way. The Catholic Church has not only maintained a number of very old dark images in Europe and built popular public shrines to them there, the Catholic Church has exported dark images to other continents and built huge public shrines around them. And then there are all the feasts dedicated to dark images, like that of the Filipino Nazareno Negro in January, or the Cristo Negro de Esquipulas, which is also in January, or the Feast of Our Lady of Montserrat this month in April, and a number of other feasts throughout the year, only some of which are listed in the post on your screen. And as was touched on in that post, what has been shown here captures how the Catholic Church runs across a diverse and colorful spectrum, which includes, but is not limited to, a lived reality which is far more significant, palpable, and tangible than the alternatives that certain polemicists toss around online. In short, the Catholic Church has been and continues to be a truly dedicated custodian of dark images. But not only dark images. As you know well, there are also many light images. And as I said earlier, there are also images with what might be described as stereotypically East Asian features. For example, the image on the left of your screen is actually an old St. Patrick's Church in Manhattan's Little Italy neighborhood. And perhaps we can sum up Catholic art with this tweet I composed a couple of months ago, which states, "The Catholic Church has a myriad of images which depict subjects with various shades of pink, beige, and brown found among the range of human skin tones. Beyond that, it even has nigh milk white images and nigh jet black, even obsidian images. Catholic art is a complex spectrum." And as I noted earlier, while some try to wave off the statement that the color of Christ or Mary doesn't matter, like that's mere verbal sophistry, the idea is actually a lived reality within the rich history of Catholic art. The diverse spectrum of depictions which have been permitted and celebrated by the Church serves as the very manifestation of Catholic devotion to Christ, transcending morphological limitations and simplistic racial categories. And praise God for that. And with that, I want to close this brief video with something Bishop Robert Barron said more than a decade ago, which strikes me as subtly relevant and applicable here. So enjoy, and God bless.
The Catholic story is being told, but being told by the wrong people in the wrong way. We need to tell our own story. Catholicism is smart, Catholicism is beautiful, Catholicism is colorful, it's textured, it engages the mind and the heart and the body. Christianity always has an explosive power. If we let it be itself, it always has this transformative power.